Motor racing world. Beautiful pagoda there in the middle of the pit straight. Tremendous atmosphere, real enthusiasm here amongst the American crowd. A few Colombians and Brazilians mixed in with them, but there are a lot of Americans here, travelled some distance from around the country to be here, and they're really starting to embrace their event. 5% up, I'm told, the crowd is on last year, and news that another 2 years on the contract between Tony George of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and Bernie Ecclestone, and both of them are saying they want to be racing here for many more years after that. So, is today going to be Rubens Barrichello's day? Well, 2 years ago he won the American Grand Prix here at Indianapolis when Michael Schumacher slowed at the finish line, and in the confusion Rubens took the win. Yesterday there was no confusion, and Rubens didn't need any help at all to take his 10th pole position of his Formula One career. He has had the upper hand over Schumacher all weekend, and now he's on a solo mission to win his first Grand Prix of the season. Now the critical thing, Martin, today for me is going to be the timing of the pit stops between the two Ferrari drivers, as we look at Takuma Sato, who obviously will get mixed in a little bit at the start as well. To me, Martin, whoever stops last of the two Ferrari drivers has the tactical advantage. And it's going to be very difficult for Ross Brawn, the team's strategist, because he can't exactly outthink himself, can he? So he has to give priority to one of the two drivers at some point during the Grand Prix.
I think that's going to be the politics of all of that, James, going to be very interesting this afternoon. You have to say Rubens Barrichello looks like he's had a 10th or two on Michael Schumacher through all three practices, and then of course in qualifying too. So he ought to have the legs, and we've heard from the people that matter that he's going to be allowed to win the race if he's got the pace. He was quick in Montreal. He did make a mistake and go off the road after a pit stop, but Michael coasted home and unquestionably was holding Rubens up for a time. But I think they'll still be looking in their mirrors. It's a Noah's Ark grid, 2 Ferraris, 2 BA Hondas and 2 Williams BMW. We're expecting possibly Ferrari to 3-stop. It's a very high penalty pit stop here. It's about 21 seconds just to get through the pit lane on the speed limiter, plus what it takes you to fill up with fuel. We know that is roughly between 7 and 9 seconds. So it's best part of half a minute cost to stop for fuel and tyres. So we're going to see the race unfold. Jarno Trulli right on the back of the grid after gearbox problems in qualifying. We'll watch him come through the field, I'm absolutely sure. And as you say, it's going to be Ferrari versus the rest, and probably Ferrari against Ferrari.
Well, it's also a very important day for the BAR Honda team, because if Ferrari have any kind of repeat of the tyre blistering we saw on Friday, which Martin was asking Jean Todt about, then BAR are ready there to pounce. I know Jenson Button thinks that they might well run into such trouble. Track temperature is creeping up, and the hotter it gets here, the more of a problem that's going to be for the Ferraris. There is Rubens Barrichello, just still wearing that nose strip, you can see, just to help the breathing, just opens up the nostrils, gets more air into his brain, I suppose he needs it for. But Martin, it's an important day for BAR. 9 points behind Renault in the Constructors' Championship. They've targeted finishing second this year, Jenson Button and Takuma Sato in the Constructors. And if they just finish where they are on the grid, they will overtake Renault here this weekend, because neither of the Renaults have been particularly quick, and Trulli starting at the back. So important day. The first time the BARs have qualified at the front of the grid, both cars. They must follow through here, mustn't they?
Absolutely right, and if they do pull out into second position, that would be a great achievement for them. But I think you have to say, James, it's midpoint of the season. This is a very important day for all 20 cars and drivers. Contracts being shuffled around for 2005 in many of the seats, sponsorship deals being done, and we're just moving now into the second half of the season. They all need to either secure their positions or make up for bad results earlier in the season.
About to get underway then on the parade lap. Little bit of a crowd still around the car of Juan Pablo Montoya, who is jumping out. We've got a problem here. Montoya is bouncing out of the car, and he looks pretty angry. There's a problem with that car. He's saying, "Get me the spare," I think. Is he?
Yeah,
he's running back.
I think he'll be running over to the spare car. They've yellow flagged. Will they let the pack go? The answer is yes, they will let the pack go. Can he get in the spare car? I'm sure we'll have somebody down there to find out if it's set up for him or not. There's his stricken car on the grid. They can move that very quickly out of the way. It's about 70 or 80 metres. It's a short lap here, 2.6 miles. So they'll soon be back around again, James. But they'll move, providing they can, they're getting a jack underneath the back of it now to get Montoya's car out of the way. Big crowd on the grid, and it's rolling. They can get it out of the way.
Yeah, it won't be a drama at all. They're already almost through the gap to drive the car through into the pit lane. But this enormous crowd of Colombians here supporting Montoya, well, there's a huge... The chins hitting the floor, you can hear them right underneath us in the grandstands. We're right above you there, looking straight back at the top of the grandstand. Ted Kravitz, what can you tell us?
Complete confusion with Williams. Juan Montoya's just come back to the pit wall to be told to go back to the spare car. The spare car is set up for him. It's always that way at Williams. Whoever's higher up on the grid, it's set up for. He can get in that, but I'm not quite sure how he can start with that. It was a problem with the starting mechanism, with the thing that they stick in the back to start the engine. A piece broke and it fell on behind the grid, but behind the car it just fell out. So it was a problem starting the car itself.
Well, they twist the engine into life through the gearbox, and clearly that has broken, as Ted has pointed out. Well, I said to Montoya, on the grid, you're going to have the best seat in the house to watch the Sato versus the Ferraris into turn one. He's not even got a seat in the house at the moment.
Well, he's going to try and get strapped in quickly, wait for the field to come round, try and start from the pit lane. Fair amount of South American adrenaline pumping round in through the system of Juan Montoya, I would imagine. Now, this is going to be quite critical for Takuma Sato, because if the Bridgestone tyres, Martin, you were referring to it on the grid, don't get up to temperature on the Ferraris, then Sato really could capitalise here. And they've had a very, very slow parade lap, so watch out for that. As it looks like the engine has started there in Montoya's car, and they're going to wheel him out, I think. You can hear it. There we go. So everyone's staying calm.
Will he? No, I think he'll now have to just go to the end of the pit lane. They will, now that the cars are in view of the start-finish line, they're just coming into the grid hatchings now, so he will just have to stop there and join the race after the pack has gone through. Red light on, cannot leave the pit lane.
It's going to be very difficult for Montoya to keep his head together after that. Mind you, he's a very, very experienced racing driver. He's been through highs and lows. He treats both imposters just the same then, as the field forms up. And the crowd all on its feet here, all the way down these magnificent grandstands at Indianapolis. 73 laps of the 2.6 mile speedway, 190 miles, not the 500 they do here every May, just the 190, but 190 very fast and furious miles. Jarno Trulli at the back there, lights are on. Are you ready to rock and roll? Here we go. Schumacher cuts across, Barrichello started well, Schumacher pushes Sato out of the way, Jenson Button I believe has lost ground, and look at Kimi Räikkönen up into fourth place. Schumacher has a look at Barrichello, but no luck.
Yes, a few cars then struggling to get away there, and there's a contact. Is that Klin, Jordan and Sauber? All sorts of aggravation down there between turn 1 and 2. Who's pulling off there in the foreground?
I think it's a Minardi. It's one of the Minardis, I believe. That looks like Massa on the right, Klien. One of the Jordans is definitely involved there, and that's Bruni. Safety car has been deployed here at Indianapolis. Montoya, we're waiting to see whether he was involved in that or whether he got slipped through it. I think he got through it, no problem actually. Alonso, though, great start from him. We saw Räikkönen also had a good start, but he obviously lost ground into turn 1. So Barrichello the order at the moment. We're under a safety car, so everyone's slowed down as you can see. Barrichello leading the Grand Prix from Michael Schumacher. Alonso is up into 3rd place from 9th on the grid. Tremendous start for the Renault there. Sato then down from 3rd to 4th. Räikkönen is 5th, and Jenson Button has gone from 4th on the grid, Martin, down to 6th.
Yes, Button didn't get away well, nor did Coulthard, so the two Brits struggling off the line down here. I saw Klien outside our window really take a flyer, so he was well up on position going down there into turn 1. I'm sure we'll get a replay soon. I'd be surprised if Montoya tripped over all that. He is registered as 15th, Trulli up to 11th from 20th on the grid, and we've got 4 cars out of the Grand Prix. This is not a restart situation then, so they cannot rejoin. Immediately then, Michael Schumacher tucked up behind his teammate Rubens Barrichello, so Ferrari train down in the first corner. Sato thinking about it, and look, 4, 5 and 6 abreast at the back of the field, and Klien's going to get tangled up there, ran into the back of, I couldn't quite see who, lost his front wing, and then by sparing all over the racetrack managed to managed to run several people out of it. He had a first corner incident 7 days ago.
Certainly did. It was amazing, that low angle, wasn't it? Really fast and furious stuff. You can see Schumacher had a look. Look at Clean in the back on your left. He gets tangled up. You can see the two Jaguars are side by side there at one point. Whack! Straight into the back of somebody.
Toyota. It was into the back of a Toyota that there and that is Damata then appeared to be going quite slowly, it has to be said, between the two apexes, and that was he's struggling. He's got a box full of neutrals sitting in the pit lane, presumably then some kind of damage maybe that had already happened, James, because the Toyota was going very slowly.
Yeah, it suddenly seemed to stop in the middle of the corner, didn't it? And that's why Clean whacked it. So poor old Christian Clean, 2 incidents in the first corner in a week, as you say. Here's another look at the start.
Damata out of the pits now. He has got it going again, and Schumacher covering off Sato very well for second and third there. Look at Alonso already up to P5, and he just goes straight down the outside. Look at that, what a move for Alonso, right into P3, stunning. Now the action goes, Clean into the back of the Toyota, wipes out Massa and Pantano, and I think, yeah, Montoya making his way through the carnage. I don't think we're going to see the incident. What we are going to see from this camera angle is Michael Schumacher squeezing us against the wall, followed by Alonso steaming down the outside. Watch out for him, on the left-hand side. There he goes, almost having a look at Michael Schumacher. What a start.
That was absolutely incredible then by Alonso from 9th place on the grid. Renault struggling a little bit for pace here, certainly on the single lap and throughout the race practices as well, but that was a wonderful start. So who's out of the Grand Prix? Clean, Massa, that's his Sauber there on the side of the track, Pantano in the Jordan, and Gianmaria Bruni. Those are the 4 cars who are no longer part of this Grand Prix. Rubens Barrichello is going to be the race leader when we restart. We're not being told yet exactly when the safety car will come in. Barrichello the leader though, Michael Schumacher second, Alonso third, Sato fourth, Raikkonen fifth, Button sixth. There's Damata still going slowly. He is last of the runners at the moment in 16th place. Ralf Schumacher was 7th, Panis 8th in the Toyota, 9th in the Snake is Mark Webber in the Jaguar. David Coulthard is 10th. Jarno Trulli, as you mentioned, Martin, has gone from the very back of the grid up to 11th place.
Damata then keeps getting up to speed, then slowing down again. He's coming past our window now, absolutely flat chat. But I suspect very strongly that it was the problems with gear selection for Damata, or drive of some sort, that actually triggered that incident there, James. So not too bad for Montoya. What they're doing now is trying to save their fuel. Remember, they had to qualify with their race fuel, and they can, if they're really clever with it, they can get it down to just half regular fuel consumption and allow them to go longer into the race. Those that were on 3 stops, or we think Ferrari were on a 3-stop and they could stretch to a 2, this is dream ticket. It's not hurting the tyres, not using the fuel. The only problem they've got is when they get up and running, the tyres are probably about 70 degrees centigrade instead of 100, 105, so there'll be 2 or 3 psi down, the ride height of the car dramatically affected, the grip of the tyre poor, stability overall poor, so that is why they're snaking around trying desperately to keep some pressure and temperature in those tyres and also the brakes, but no sign yet that the safety car's coming in on this lap as far as the computer is concerned. So Barrichello slowly leads then from Michael Schumacher, Alonso a stunning third.
We're at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the American Grand Prix. We're on lap 5 of 73. We're not racing. We've had an incident involving 4 cars into the first corner. Klein, Massa, Pantano and Bruni have been eliminated. We're behind a safety car, but we're being told by race control now the safety car will come in at the end of this lap. Rubens Barrichello heads the train then. Michael Schumacher second, Alonso third, Sato fourth, Raikkonen fifth, and Jenson Button sixth. You're riding on board with Juan Montoya, whose car failed on the grid. He's run into the spare car, and thanks to all the mayhem in the first corner, he is up into 14th place. And up to 11th from the very back of the grid is Jarno Trulli. So this is set, Martin, I think, for quite an exciting afternoon.
Yep, and who then has kept their tyres warmest, who can get their car functioning? Alonso's been working overtime there in third place. Get ready for the jump. Montoya will have had many restarts here at Indianapolis from when he was racing over here. He won this race, of course, as the 500 on the oval, but Barrichello really backing them up very slowly. He's going to bolt as soon as he gets sight of the apex of turn 11. He will absolutely leg it and hope he catches them all by surprise. I wonder if they're, there they go.
Here he goes.
I wonder if they're doing that in synchronization. If they are, it's worked.
Certainly has. Alonso third, Sato fourth are being left behind, particularly Sato. Here we go then, green flag racing again in Indianapolis. Barrichello leads them round. You're not allowed to overtake until the start-finish line. Schumacher's already having a go. Was he passed by the start-finish line? That was marginal.
It was indeed. That's an interesting one, and Hadi was certainly having a good go by the start-finish line. As you say, James, we'll have a look on that. Barrichello is shown as in the lead of the Grand Prix, though, so I suspect he did just get over the line first. But Michael Schumacher, with so much more speed coming off that banking, where did that come from? I wonder if he just raised the rev limiter just for that moment. He certainly caught Rubens napping a little bit. He takes the lead, and Alonso right with them. Sato fourth, Raikkonen fifth, Button, Ralf Schumacher seventh, Panis eighth, Webber ninth, Coulthard 10th, Trulli still in 11th place.
Well, it's ironic, isn't it, if you think back to 2002 where Michael Schumacher slowed, and as they crossed the line there was that confusion. Here, crossing the line for the restart, they're shown as having crossed it. Michael Schumacher 0.0 seconds behind Rubens Barrichello, but it's Barrichello's name that is number 1, which means that he did cross the line first, and that's enough to give Michael Schumacher the legitimate lead of the American Grand Prix, and Rubens will be kicking himself. We're riding on board with Jenson Button.
I love the irony of that. I mean, I think Michael would never have been able to work that one out. And remember how badly he got that 2 years ago when he tried to stage a finish like that, a photo finish. They were absolutely 0.0, as you say, apart. But crucially, the computer grabbed Rubens before it got Michael. Michael, I think, was quite lucky there that he didn't get penalised. When the safety car comes in, you must not overtake before you cross the start-finish line.
Yeah, that was extremely well judged by Michael Schumacher. That's the kind of thing you come to expect from the 6 times world champion there. You can see Raikkonen with Button behind him. Here we go again, let's look at this.
You also wonder, I mean, when I said, did he put the revs up? I think that with these 1 engine per weekend rules, they're obviously keeping the revs down as much as they can. And is this a replay? I think this is a replay, isn't it? It is a replay of Michael taking the lead. But I think they've got like an overtake button, James, where they can just lift their revs up. Probably gives them another 10 or 15 horsepower. And look there, good fight going on for 5th place between Raikkonen and Button. Button kept it together. I think this is yet another replay. Is it not? Because Michael is 0.8 ahead. No, I think we're now back live.
Yep, no, that was a replay. I think that was from Alonso's car. He's dropping back, as you can see, 3 seconds now behind the 2 Ferraris. So it's been a disastrous start, you'd have to say, for the BAR team as we look at Cristiano Di Matta, who's reporting gear selection problems back to the Toyota garage. He's dead last in 16th place, but BAR 4th at the moment with Sato and 6th for Button. You consider that they started 3rd and 4th on the grid. It's not been a good start to the Grand Prix for them.
David Coulthard has passed Mark Webber, so he's now 9th, Webber down to 10th. So Michael Schumacher, 0.7 ahead of Barrichello, Alonso, Sato, Raikkonen 5th, followed by Button, Ralf Schumacher, Panis, Coulthard, Webber, Trulli, still in 11th place. Slightly surprising there, James. I thought Trulli might be steaming through, but he's got Montoya right behind him now in P12. Let's look out for that. In fact, it's on your screen now. So they're coming through the field very nicely. We'll keep an eye on them. 11 and 12, Truly Montoya, one from the pit lane, one from the back of the grid.
Yeah, you're looking at the queue that's now beginning to form behind Kimi Räikkönen, who's in 5th place in the McLaren. McLaren having a better weekend. Räikkönen qualifying in 7th place for this Grand Prix, but still not on the pace of BAR, Williams or Ferrari. And you can see that Räikkönen now a couple of seconds behind Sato. As one of the Renaults, is that Alonso? I think it is Alonso who's had
he's lost it under
big
braking.
incident.
Sorry, James, he's lost it under braking big time. I wonder if it just stepped away from him on the bumps. But safety car is standing by, unsurprisingly. Let's have a look at that. Has Alonso just braked very late and caught a bump badly? That is highly, highly unusual. To be, wow, they're dropping like flies then, James. That's the 5th absolutely firm retirement. But D'Amata is now fully up and running in the Toyota. What was that all about?
Well, it looks like he's knocked the nose off. That's the first impact. The right rear tyre is completely deflated. He's having a look at the back of the car. Something's gone wrong.
Yeah, I think he's going to hit the brakes. It's just going to spin completely on him. Right rear tyre failure or puncture. So nasty incident there for 210 miles an hour. Straight into the wall, nose first. A tribute to just how massively strong these cars are. There he goes, no chance of saving that one at all. The safety car has, I believe, been stood down. We're working under double waved yellows at this stage. And Flavio going, what was that? Well, Flavio, it was a right rear puncture or tyre delamination.
And that white stuff you can see that he hit, that's just polystyrene marker boards. They're made of nothing more solid than polystyrene for obvious reasons. We've got yellow flags though. Double waved yellow flags down at turn 1. That means no overtaking in turn 1. You can see the moment of horror for Fernando Alonso, just about to hit the brakes at 210 miles an hour, and his right rear tyre explodes.
See, the problem is so many cars getting together in turns 1 and 2 on the first lap. A little shard of carbon fibre, so easy to get to pick up a puncture, if indeed that is what happened. The tyre tends to stay inflated down the straight. The speed, the centrifugal force keeps the tyre up, and then all of a sudden it gets so hot in the sidewalls, it bang, and nothing. It happens at Le Mans quite often.
This is David Coulthard in 8th place with Mark Webber in the Jaguar behind him. This is the battle for the last of the points-paying positions. Coulthard saying this new updated McLaren due out at the French Grand Prix can't come soon enough. He hasn't driven the car yet, only Kimi Räikkönen has driven the car, and he's saying, I'm waiting to be convinced that it's an improvement. I haven't driven it, I can't say. Another big crash in the final corner. Someone's hit the wall very, very hard. Car's diving out of the way to try and avoid it. That's a big impact. That's a 190 mile an hour corner. Turn 13, Martin. You wouldn't want it. Rubens Barrichello hit the wall there a couple of years ago. Zolt Baumgartner has hit the wall here this afternoon. That's going to have to be a safety car. It is indeed. Safety car again deployed. Second safety car in just 10 laps of racing here. And Ralf Schumacher. The computer got it wrong. It's Ralf Schumacher that has hit the wall.
That's a big incident. And
is he still
Ralf
in the car?
Schumacher still sitting in the car, I believe. And that's the second car then on Michelin tyres. Have they picked up punctures? Have they got a problem up there on that 9-degree banking? Puts an awful lot of stress through the tyres. I was surprised when it said Baumgartner because he was running at the back, and that car clearly spun off in front of several others. Where then are the marshals?
Where's the doctors as well? He's not moving much, is he?
Yeah, he's now, I believe he is moving now, but yeah, he's moving fine, certainly in terms of, there's a big impact rear, was it just knocks the air out. Ferrari in the pits, Michael Schumacher using this safety car period as a chance to refuel. He'd been quite a bit quicker than Barrichello, and I think this is playing beautifully into Michael's hands, and Barrichello queuing up behind him. They're not going to make the same mistake they made in Monaco, James, by missing the safety car opportunity. Both Ferraris have pitted, which rather confirms, and Barrichello very slow away. It rather confirms that we thought they were running light, but all these incidents played right into their hands.
Both of the McLarens have also pitted. We can see the sole remaining Sauber, Giancarlo Fisichella, has also pitted. Räikkönen, Trulli, Panis, Heidfeld, Fisichella have all been in. Coulthard, D'Amata and Baumgartner. So Ralf Schumacher's car still on the exit of turn 13 now. The safety crew have arrived there.
Bits flying everywhere. Coulthard running over a piece of debris on the pit exit there too, and this is a critical situation we have here. What bothers me, James, is if these are 2 tyre failures, something's going to have to be done about it, and quite what, they can't really check them out at this stage. They'll be very keen to get that car of Ralf Schumacher's back into the pits and have a look at it, and I wonder if they shouldn't be dragging that Renault back in and giving Michelin that tyre too, just to verify that these are punctures rather than tyre failures. But hey, if they're getting punctures, we've now got even more rubbish on the track.
Certainly have. Safety car then leading the field round. They're going to be going past the stricken car of Ralf Schumacher in a moment. The crew are there. There are people leaning into the cockpit, talking to Ralf Schumacher. You'll see it for yourselves in a moment.
They're missing a trick here with the safety car. They should be taking the pack through the pit lane, not through the debris on the start-finish line and bothering the workers. They're really missing a trick there. They could just as easily coast through the pit lane.
Well, Professor Sid Watkins, that's his car. The medical car has arrived now at the scene. You can see that everybody's there. There's Michael Schumacher. He's having a good look, obviously concerned about his brother in the car, going very slowly past bits of bodywork on the track. Look at all the debris, top right of your screens here. I have to agree with you, Martin. It would have been perhaps a smarter move to go through the pit lane. It's not uncommon to do that.
No, they absolutely, they need to be telling him next time around. But what's going through Michael Schumacher's mind, I suspect and hope that it's winded, Ralf. We've all had big crunches backwards, and the gearbox is there is a rear crash structure, thank goodness. That the work that the FIA have done to make these cars more crashworthy has been exceptional and very detailed, so it would have taken a lot of the energy, but nonetheless, as you said, James, 180, 190 miles an hour, bang, straight into the wall, and there we go. He's lost it early on, and yeah, that's a heavy impact, and worse than that, it was at 90 degrees. At 90, and I think that knocked him out pretty much straight away, James, if you look. And we're going to see another angle of it now. He's already had the incident. There then is the debris. Ralf making it several hundred metres down the racetrack, and that's going to take some clearing up. I think they've got to throw a red and clean this place up and give these guys all another set of tyres, because they've been through way too much debris.
Wow, look at that Jarno Trulli driving through the debris like hailstones. Ted, what can you tell us?
It appears to be early good news from Williams, I have to say. Sam Michael, Ralph's radio is broken, which doesn't help matters, but Sam Michael, the technical director, said, Ralf, if you can hear me, raise your hand. And Ralf did raise his hand. So thankfully, I think it's more, as you say, Martin, being winded and slightly concussed.
Yeah, I just hope he hasn't hurt his back a bit in that, because that was... Mark Blundell will know more about it, because he's had several bites out of these walls in the Indy cars, but that looked about just the worst possible angle he could have gone in. If you can glance it at 45, 50 degrees or an even more shallow angle, you'll slide down the wall. The concrete always sucks you into the wall, though, rather than a barrier which tends to bounce you away and absorb some of the energy. But heavy impact then for Ralf Schumacher.
So while they clean up the track around the accident of Ralf Schumacher, we'll take a quick break. Welcome back to Indianapolis. We're on lap 14 of what's been an incident-filled US Grand Prix. We had a safety car on the very first lap when 4 cars got involved in an accident. Christian Klein, Felipe Massa, Giorgio Pantano and Gianmaria Bruni. That's the leader at the moment, Michael Schumacher, and he's having to drive past the BMW Williams of his brother. There you can see him looking to the right just to see what the progress is. The course workers are there, the medical workers are there as well. We have heard from Ted Kravitz that Ralf Schumacher has communicated with the team. He raised his arm to say he was okay, but clearly Mark Blundell, I know, is joining us from the studio. You've had an impact with a wall in American-style racing. Tell us about it. What does it feel like?
Well, you know, that's the unusual thing, because an Indy car is a little bit heavier, in terms of about 50% heavier, in fact. So when it hits concrete, it takes the impact a lot easier. An F1 car impacts in concrete, as you can see, doesn't cope with it so well. I've got a feeling, though, by looking at that, it looks like what we term as pinching the corner. As he came onto the banking, he might have just gone a bit too low and got actually the bit of banking and a little bit of the apron. That's upset the balance of the car and shot him off into the concrete wall.
Yeah, so Mark is saying there that he lost the car, and certainly he appeared into the camera shot, didn't he, going backwards already. So the apron, of course, is level and the banking is at 9 degrees. What Mark is suggesting there, that he got a little bit of both and it twisted the car around. But normally the F1 drivers are doing very little work through there. It's been, if they've got it on the right line, it's just easy flat, easy full throttle for them, really, just waiting for the speed to build. So Ralf then, they'll be going through an awful lot of precautions, of course, and so they should, to make sure they don't do any further damage.
Yeah, you can see the medical workers there. Mark, tell us what sort of things you've got to check when you hit a concrete wall in a racing car at these sort of speeds, 190 miles an hour plus. What kind of things are the medical people looking for?
Well, the biggest problem is obviously the neck, because you've got severe impact against something which has got zero absorption. The only thing what's absorbing any energy is the carbon fibre in the car, and obviously your body. And that's probably way over 100 G in terms of its impact. So, you know, first, you check up from the legs upwards and just see whether there's anything actually too wrong. But that looks like to me that Ralph's got maybe concussed at that point in time. So, you know, he was still for a very long time. My biggest issue with all of that is it took a long time for the medical people to get on circuit.
Yeah, it was a while before the medical car arrived there. You can see the field once again now about to come past. Do you agree with Martin that they should be taking the field through the pit lane, Mark?
There's no really strong reason to be running around that race circuit with all that debris. The carbon fibre will shatter. It will actually get into the tyres and create more punctures, and that's something that the Ferrari people have been thinking about now. They brought the cars in early, changed tyres, but they could be picking up debris, and that could be a big mistake come the start of the race again.
One final thing, Mark, obviously the drivers now in Formula One wear the HANDS device, which is designed to help, certainly in the event of a head-on impact. Will it have any benefit at all in a rearwards impact like Ralf Schumacher's suffered?
We've lost Mark down there at the moment. I think the headrest stop when you hit going backwards. The headrest stops the rearward movement. I think the hands may just stop some of the whiplash and bouncing around of your head. And it certainly looked to me as if Ralf was immediately unconscious because his head was moving, flying around inside the car. Ted has some news.
Yeah, I'm watching from the Renault garage. I can see slightly better than the pictures I believe you're seeing. Ralf has been put in the ambulance. He's been attended to very well by Professor Sid Watkins and Dr. Gary Hartstein, who are the two guys who really know what they're doing in that medical car. They were putting a neck brace on Ralf. I could see that quite clearly, and they were inflating a sort of support that went beyond, rather to either side of his body, an inflatable support that goes either side of his body just to keep him steady and straight. He is in the ambulance. The ambulance is just moving off as we speak. I believe you're seeing a picture now of Ralf trying to get out of the car and perhaps having difficulty doing that. But he is in the ambulance, and as we say, on the way to the medical centre, and then I would have thought the Methodist Hospital in downtown Indianapolis.
Okay, let's bring you up to speed then on what happened in the ensuing somewhat chaotic happenings in the pits. Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello, who were 1 and 2, both pitted at the same time. Schumacher then getting first into the garage, Rubens having to just coast in after he'd left Barrichello very slow away. So Michael retained the lead, but Rubens Barrichello down in 7th place as if he almost stalled the engine. Sato is now 2nd and did not stop. Button is 3rd and did not stop. Nor did Webber in 4th, or Montoya, who started from the pit lane, who's now 5th. Raikkonen, Barrichello, Trulli, Panis, Heidfeld, Fisichella, Coulthard, who's now down to 12th, D'Amata and Baumgartner did all stop. So that is the order. 14 runners then. I'll go through them again. Michael Schumacher, Takuma Sato second, Jenson Button third, Webber for Jaguar fourth, Montoya fifth, Raikkonen is sixth then for McLaren. Barrichello down to seventh. That's not worked out at all well for him. And Jarno Trulli up to 8th from the 20th on the grid, having taken on fuel. Panis 9th in the Toyota, Heidfeld 10th for Jordan, Fisichella 11th, Coulthard 12th. We don't know what happened to him in the pit stop, but clearly lost a lot of time. Now you'll see the pack under safety car conditions passing the ambulance, who's going very slowly through turn 4 and 5 over there. D'Amata 13th then, just to finish that off, Baumgartner 14th. But my concern is they've all driven through a lot of debris.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of bits of carbon fibre and bits of metal. It was a huge impact. You can see, look at the tyre marks on the track, the impact point. Did he hit? Looks like a break in the wall there. Looks like he hit there's a metal part of the wall there. It looks like he's very, very close to hitting that. That's the remains of the BMW Williams car. Certainly withstood that impact pretty well, didn't it? So obviously we're still under the safety car here. We've still got Ralf Schumacher on his way to the medical centre.
VAR all the way through the season. I see.
Welcome back to Indianapolis. This is lap 18. Once again, we're under safety car, the second safety car period of this Grand Prix. We had an accident on the first corner, which eliminated 4 cars in the Grand Prix. That's Cristiano D'Amata, who's been suffering with gear selection problems pretty much since the start of the race. It looks like they've come back again. That's the BMW Williams garage. After the restart of this Grand Prix, a couple of laps in, Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams hit the wall on the outside of turn 13. This corner that you're looking at now, he went backwards into the wall. A very, very heavy impact. Debris absolutely everywhere. It took quite a long time to stabilise him, get him into an ambulance and clear the track up as well. That's why we are still under a safety car, and that's why after 37 minutes of this Grand Prix, we've only had 5 green flag laps and we've only covered 19 laps. Here's D'Amata, listen, he's trying to find a gear.
I think the problem D'Amata's got is, as he had on the warm-up lap, so he's going slowly, he's probably losing hydraulic pressure, maybe some leakage in there, and the safety car is going to come in, but D'Amata stranded out on the track, because when he was up and running after his early dramas, which triggered that first corner incident of the first lap, he was going really well, but clearly I would imagine the hydraulic pressure is decaying away. Suddenly can't find his gears.
Well, it's very unusual in Formula One to have a corner with a concrete wall on the outside of it, but obviously the Indy 500 is run around the ovals, and the people here with all the equipment that they have, absolute experts at clearing it all away, so they obviously satisfied. They've got all the debris out of the way, and they've managed to clean the track up, and the safety car will be coming in this lap for a second restart.
But as Mark said, the Indy cars are designed for ovals, and the Formula 1 cars quite clearly are not. Nonetheless, hopefully Ralph in not too bad a shape, and Alonso had a 210 mile an hour apparent blowout down in turn 1, and he too survived that intact, but was reaching out and working away on his own back as he got out of the car. Michael Schumacher becomes the pace car now. Then he wants to be careful he doesn't catch the actual pace car by bolting a bit too early, and he passed the pace car, look, and now they've got to race to the line before they do any overtaking. This is all working out beautifully for Michael Schumacher. Have we ever said that before?
He judged it once again absolutely perfectly. Just as the safety car went into the pit lane, Michael Schumacher went past. At the first restart earlier on in the Grand Prix, he passed Rubens Barrichello just as they crossed the start-finish line. They were 0.0 seconds apart, and Michael Schumacher took the lead. He is on top here once again at Indianapolis. The two BARs of Sato and Button are second and third, but they have not made a pit stop. So Schumacher has made one stop for fuel and tyres during that safety car period. The BARs did not bring either of their two cars in. We'll find out later in the race whether that was the right or wrong thing to do. Montoya is up to fourth, having started this Grand Prix from the pit lane. His car failed on the grid. There we are, riding on board with him. There's Juan Montoya up into fourth place. He did not either make a stop during that safety car period. Raikkonen did, he's fifth. So did Barrichello. That's dropped him down from second to sixth. And Jarno Trulli up to seventh, having started at the very back of the grid. What a frenetic start to this Grand Prix. And we're all concerned about Ralf Schumacher. Louise, what can you tell us about his condition?
Well, we've just heard from Gary Hart, the medical officer, that Ralph is fine. He is conscious, he's a bit dizzy. He has some bruising to his back, and he has concussion as well. But he's going to be taken to the Memorial Hospital for some x-rays. But Gary's words were, the guy is fine.
Great news then, big impact there. Tribute to the strength of the cars. Very, very good news for Ralf Schumacher. That will have been passed on to his brother Michael Schumacher, who's leading the race by 0.7 from Sato, then Button. I cannot see a reason why they didn't stop, James. I've already explained earlier in the programme, it's best part of half a minute when you make a racing stop under full racing conditions, under yellow flags, other than losing track position. It's a complete freebie to get that stop in there and fuel up a little bit. But anyway, they chose not to. Sato, Button, Montoya, and those three, who are second, third and fourth at the moment, did not stop. So Michael with more fuel on board.
Certainly has. He was stationary for just under 8 seconds, so he took on about 50 kilos of fuel, enough for about 21 laps of the Grand Prix, and obviously it was early anyway to be making a stop. Hardly done any green flag running, had the Ferrari, only 5 laps of it, so he's been conserving fuel, so he'll be going quite deep into this Grand Prix before he needs to stop again, and so will Raikkonen, Barrichello, Trulli and Panis, who are 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. So Sato, Button and Montoya are on a completely different strategy from the rest of them, and time will tell whether or not they're going to get caught out by it. They're obviously gambling that they've got the pace, Martin, to open up enough of a margin to be able to pick up the place later on. They're trying to get both of these cars onto the podium, with Rubens Barrichello having dropped right down to 6th place. There he is. They obviously feel that there's a big window for them to drive into with these two BAR Hondas. And let's not forget the bigger picture for BAR. They want to come away from here with second place in the Constructors' Championship. Only Jarno Trulli survives of the two Renaults. We saw Alonso having a 210 mile an hour tyre blowout early on in the Grand Prix, so only one Renault can score points this afternoon. Both BARs can score big.
Well, it's going to be getting a bit thin later on, James, I suspect, in terms of numbers of cars on the track. We're down to 13 already. It's lap 22, so 7 total racing laps that we've seen so far. Michael Schumacher led by 0.8 of a second. Button looking handy there in third. Let's see where they are as they cross the line this time. It's down to 0.5. Button a further 0.5 behind. Montoya slipping back. He's now 2.9 behind Button in fourth place. Raikkonen and Barrichello line astern. Don't understand why Jarno Trulli's not faster in the Renault. He's 7th, but not with great speed.
Well, the car hasn't been that fast all weekend, and he has made a stop, so he's obviously put some fuel in the car, as Jarno Trulli. But obviously Sato and Button here carrying considerably less fuel than Michael Schumacher, and the weight penalty here isn't great at Indianapolis by the standards of other places, but still it's significant. Is Sato going to have a go then at the world champion? We've certainly seen he's not afraid to have a go at anybody. He's no respecter of reputations. He's a very aggressive racing driver, and he's lining Michael Schumacher up for a pass here.
Yeah, but when he does it, he's got to go in and be firm with it. He can't do these coast in and I'm coming through, chap, I hope you've noticed. He's got to be firmer with it, and then he's going to make some of these very brave moves stick. But we keep seeing him not with quite enough authority when he arrives on the scene.
That noise as they fly past us, 156 miles an hour. Absolutely fantastic. The problem for Sato there was he didn't get an exit from turn 11. He wasn't fast enough on the exit, was he, Martin? Very cagey driving by Michael Schumacher, allowing the VAR to get close to him in the infield where there's no chance to overtake. The critical corner to get right is turn 11, though. That's the one that leads out into that fast sequence, and Sato not able to get close enough.
Now remember, Michael was slow in the middle sector. That's why Rubens Barrichello beat him to pole position by a couple of tenths, and the BARs are all over him like a rash through there. But as you say, they're nowhere near close enough in turn 11, and we know Michael trimmed a lot of wing and drag out of that Ferrari to give him good straight line speed, so he can just scamper down the pit straight. And they're not close enough to get in his slipstream, and they're close enough right now. Can they stay with him through turn 11?
This is the sequence then. That was turn 9 into 10. We're not going to see exactly what's happening, and on BARs you can see getting ready for a stop, so maybe this decision not to bring them in under the safety car going to cost very dear. Which of the two BARs is going to stop in the pits? As we come up, it's Button, you can see the second of the two BARs dives in. We've still got Sato behind us as we look back from the car of Michael Schumacher, and in comes Jenson Button. This stop is going to cost him, Martin. It's going to cost him a lot. He's going to be down in 12th place as a result of this.
Yeah. Oh, he's gone right through the garage. They all have to shuffle along. It's very slippery on the concrete apron there. Jenson just a bit too hot on the way in, but I don't know why they sat for so many laps behind the safety car without you taking advantage of it. They've just got up and running again, and now they're in the pits, so maybe they know something we don't, but I can't see the logic there at the moment. When will Sato be in? That's the question. Montoya still strong now in 3rd place. He's in the spare car. We have no idea how much fuel that would have had in it. I would have assumed something of a similar level to the race car.
Yeah, absolutely. You would have to think so. Sato then very close to the back of Michael Schumacher. Here's a replay of Button getting it wrong at the stop. Ooh! Luckily he didn't collect anybody, but you wouldn't want to be the front right gunman, would you?
I wouldn't want to be any of them in there. So I go and stand there in practice sometimes just behind the jackman and watch them come in, and they're even slower than that in free practice. Sato pits in the second BAR, and it just looks so fast. They're all brave guys standing there, and Sato then will he have a clean start? It costs you a couple of 3 seconds while they just collect their thoughts and then move their air guns and move the wheels that are ready to go on and the spare wheel nuts. And the refueler has to shuffle along with the heavy refueling rig. No such problem for Sato. He's underway and surely will stay in front of Jenson Button then.
Yeah, Jenson Button is down in 12th place behind the Jaguar of Mark Webber, but ahead of Zolt Baumgartner. There you can see them pouring out. That's Jenson Button there. Sato rejoining then just in front of his teammate who had set the fastest middle sector of the Grand Prix so far. He was really pressing on, was Jenson, on that outlap, and now he's got Sato right in front of him. So the team gets Sato out where he was before those 2 stops, but how expensive were they? You stop under a safety car, the rest of the field is doing 90 miles an hour. You stop in race conditions, they're all doing 100 plus. And a very different situation. Look at this though already. Sato attacking the Jaguar of Mark Webber. That's him up to 11th place then. This is going to be worth watching, isn't it? The most aggressive driver in Formula 1 coming through the field.
Yeah, but worst case scenario, they've come out right into the heart of the pack. And maybe this is slightly the inexperience of the BAR team, although they've got people like Jock Clear around to really maximise these situations. Let's see how the race unfolds. But this is going to cost them dearly as they make their way through the traffic. Michael Schumacher out there in free air. 13 runners most of them in the BAR's way.
And Sato can't wait. The traditional thing is to follow in the slipstream and pass it to turn 1. Sato having a look through 13. Here he goes then, lining up the McLaren. He goes down the inside of Coulthard. Is he going to make it? Yes, he has, under braking. Coulthard cannot resist, and the next man in his sights is going to be Giancarlo Fisichella. Now it's up to Jenson Button. Someone's gone straight on there. It's up to Jenson Button to find a way past his good friend David Coulthard.
But look how Sato sided his way through there, and JB is somewhere out the back. So Jenson nowhere near even the back of David Coulthard. I don't know who went straight on there, but possibly then Jenson Button off the pace on that lap, although he's now closed back up to David Coulthard at the bottom of your picture then. On board with Sato, having a look at Fisichella. He's got a very fast car underneath him, hasn't he? But if he can clear this traffic quickly, and Ted is down there at BAR.
Down at BAR with very bad news. You always know something's wrong when the mechanics clear a car-sized space in the garage for one of their cars. We think it is Jenson Button. Takuma Sato seems to be moving quite well on track. So a race-ending problem, we fear, for Jenson Button.
Well, he's getting all racy now, but he's coming in the pit lane. He doesn't look like he's got a car that he wants to park in the garage and light up a cigar and watch the rest of the race with. But is that indeed what he's going to do? He's taking a long swing towards his garage, and indeed he becomes the 8th retirement. So what are they seeing on the telemetry that we can't see? And is it the Honda engine susceptible to this low speed running under the safety car situation? Clearly they can see, I mean, and if they have it, maybe they're remembering what happened in Monaco, and you certainly don't want to be putting a bundle of oil down on that banked final turn, James.
Absolutely, certainly. And of course they have just made pit stops, and we've seen the Honda engine a lap or two after a pit stop blowing up. It happened to Takuma Sato, if you remember. He had to make a stop when to replace the nose cone of the Nürburgring, came out, and 2 laps later, kaboom, went the engine. Clearly the telemetry said that Jenson's engine was going to do the same, and BAR have done a wise thing. We'll have to obviously get confirmation of that from the BAR team, but that's our supposition up here. Hopefully though, Takuma Sato, no such problems for him, because this is going to be great watching him now coming through the field. He's up into 9th place. That's Fisichella and Heidfeld, who are currently 8th and 7th in front of him. The Jordan once again running strongly in the points. Heidfeld, another strong run here at Indianapolis, where he's finished 4th and 5th in recent years. And really the Jordan, well, you'd have to say that on pace it's got no business being in 7th place in this field, but he is driving it very, very well.
Yeah, but they go into their second lap then with Sato comfortably behind them. I mean, Heidfeld going very well, as you say, James. Apparently early information is from the pits that Button had a gearbox problem. That is a replay of Sato taking Coulthard. Somebody goes straight across the grass there, which is Mark Webber in the Jaguar. Kind of a sympathy off there as he was watching the BAR. And now Sato got a tremendous run there out of that turn 7. That's where he nailed I think he nailed Webber earlier on too. So he is making his way nicely through the field. We'll get news on Jenson Button's car as soon as we can.
I love this guy. He's just so great, isn't he? When you talk to him, he's very softly spoken and quiet. He's got a lisp. He's got a girlfriend that wouldn't say boo to a goose, and they just move about very quietly in the paddock. He gets behind the wheel of a racing car and he's an absolute animal. It's fantastic. Here's Raikkonen into the pits from 5th place. He's lost that already to Olivier Panis. This is his 2nd stop of the afternoon for Kimi Raikkonen. Quite see what they did there. It's obviously, is he worried about a puncture possibly or something?
I don't know. I'm rather surprised to see him in quite that early. They need to be looking down at turn 1, because Sato has breezed past the Jordan of Heidfeld, and he is now then up into 7th place. 6th because Raikkonen pitted. Michael Schumacher leads Montoya, who's now the only man not to pit in his spare car. Barrichello 3rd, but a full 12 seconds adrift of Michael Schumacher. Where did all that extra pace go, James, that he looked like he's had since first running on Friday morning? That is strange. Truly 4th, Panis 5th, Raikkonen, and we'll see where he comes out back into the pack.
Well, we saw that Rubens Barrichello put a little bit more downforce on his car for qualifying. Obviously, he was hell-bent on getting pole position. Michael Schumacher playing the long game, taking a little bit of wing out of the car, obviously thinking of the race rather than qualifying. He said yesterday that he was disappointed not to be on pole, but I think he knew that he had a good car under him. And certainly it's the fastest car on the racetrack at the moment. That pit stop of Raikkonen there, Martin, terrific news for for Sato, wasn't it? Came at just the right moment. He was able to pass Heidfeld and effectively Raikkonen as well, all in one go. Look at this train, though. Fantastic stuff. That's the McLaren right up with the Jaguar. These two have been trading places quite a lot, Mark Webber and David Coulthard. Look how close they are to each other.
Yeah, Raikkonen dips in for a second helping of slipstream, and it did the job. He slung-shot past, but he had to get back in and take another dose of it to make it work. It's often a trick you need to do on a long straight, certainly if you pull out a bit too early.
So up to 10th then for Raikkonen, right behind teammate David Coulthard. There's the race leader, Michael Schumacher. This is lap 31 of 73. He's 7 seconds clear of Juan Montoya in second place, the only man yet to make a scheduled fuel and tyre stop. Barrichello 12 seconds behind his teammate Michael Schumacher. It's the whole length of the pit straight and then some. That's how far behind Rubens has fallen. He had to queue behind Michael in the pit stops, so that obviously lost him some time. Then he was slow away from the pit stop, and in this middle part of the race he just hasn't got the pace in the car at all. Well, we saw Fernando Alonso having a very high-speed puncture early on in the Grand Prix. He's talking now with Luis Goodman.
Fernando, what can you tell us about that accident?
I think I had a puncture in the rear tire and I finished the race a bit too early.
Do you think it was a puncture that you picked up through debris on the track, or?
Who knows, maybe.
So Alonso then confirming exactly what we thought as Raikkonen takes 9th place from the Coulthard, 9th and 10th they're running. Coulthard with not a lot of pace for some reason, and they're running down the back of the field. Raikkonen's just pitted, as we know. 5 or 6 cars there of the 12 that are running pretty much in a line. Raikkonen going very deep there, almost running onto the marbles on the outside of the track. Webber still 11th, Baumgartner the final run in 12th.
Yeah, Coulthard's pace at the moment around half a second slower than that of Kimi Raikkonen, so clearly on the race day Coulthard not able to monster this car. Here's Raikkonen though, we're riding on board with him now, and you're looking at the back of the Fisichella-Heidfeld train. These two have been racing each other quite a lot this season at various places. Certainly at the start of the year in Australia they had a good old ding-dong. Swapped seats last year if you recall, Fisichella going from Jordan to Sauber, Heidfeld going in the opposite direction. They've both been in the points this season, and Raikkonen is about to try and pass the pair of them.
Fisichella was getting a touch high up there on the banking and almost getting too high, I would imagine. The wall was looking perilously close, but he's managed to keep good speed, and Raikkonen unable to get anywhere near them. Look at Heidfeld still maintaining his position ahead of the Ferrari engine. They're running the same Ferrari engine in that Sauber as the car that's leading this race by 7.6 seconds. So what a great job Heidfeld's doing.
Certainly is. Fastest man on the racetrack at the moment though is Takuma Sato. He is up at his 6th place now, having made that very expensive pit stop under Green Flag Racing. He's lapping in the low 1:11s, an astonishing pace. Michael Schumacher 6/10ths slower lapping at the moment, and Montoya around about the same, just they're doing mid to high 1:11s. Sato low 1:11s. He's really pressing on here. Sole remaining BAR in the field as Raikkonen still looks for a way past Fisichella. This is the critical corner then, turn 11, to get the grip out of there. Good drive out of there to try and pass on the straight, but the Mercedes engine in the back of this McLaren, not one of the most powerful in Formula One at the moment, and he's battling with a Sauber which is powered by the same Ferrari engine as is in the back of Michael Schumacher's Ferrari, though he does look as though he's getting some kind of a tow down the straight, but it won't be enough to get him past this time.
Well, apparently the new engine in the 19B McLaren they're testing this week is strong, as is the chassis they're expecting, so hopefully the next Grand Prix McLaren will be somewhat faster than they are at the moment. They're not fast enough to nail the Sauber of Fisichella down this very long straight. 22 seconds full throttle. Michael Schumacher's lead being pegged by Montoya. We're on lap 35 now just. Montoya then yet to make a pit stop. Obviously they jumped in the spare car. They must have put a lot of fuel in before they send him out to start at the end of the pit lane. You're watching Nick Heidfeld in the Jordan, and there's yet more debris on the racetrack. Did that fall off his car or did he run over it?
Very, very difficult to say, but it certainly hit Fisichella pretty hard. McLaren getting ready for another stop. We've seen Raikkonen in twice already. Coulthard just the once. The Williams team finally then getting ready for Juan Montoya on lap 35 of 73, approaching half distance in the Grand Prix. And Montoya really has made very, very good use of the spare car. Unfamiliar to him, of course. He just jumped straight into it when his car had problems on the grid. Meanwhile, Raikkonen pitting again. The third time this afternoon comes Kimi Raikkonen.
I wonder if they're struggling to get fuel in that car, because I think the last stop was out of sequence, and that's they're not getting fuel in. They're struggling to get fuel, I believe, into the car. Are they changing a electronic box? Ted, can you see anything?
Yes, they are fiddling with the electronics, and it looks like also it may be the airline. No, in fact it is an electronics. There's a wire coming out and a box into there, so it's either the battery or some sort of electronics reset on there. They did put a little splash of fuel in there, but only a tiny bit. The fuel rig is working okay.
Michael Schumacher then is about to lap Kimi Raikkonen. Montoya finally pits then at the end of lap 35. And let's see where he feeds out. If he can go into the middle of all of that traffic, I think he's going to be okay, actually. As Sato passes us and him. But Michael Schumacher, he must be thinking, come on, guys, where are you? Where are you today? They just seem to make it so easy for him.
They really do. Rubens Barrichello then is promoted to second place, but 13 seconds behind his team leader. And Montoya fed back in behind Sato, but ahead of Heidfeld and Fisichella. So that means that Montoya, I believe, is in 6th place behind Takuma Sato. Still lapping like a demon in the low 1:11. Sato pushing very hard, but he's half a minute behind Michael Schumacher. And if you think that before he made that pit stop, he was he was right at the back of Michael Schumacher. It shows you just how expensive it was that BAR didn't make the stop under the safety car. There's Schumacher, as Martin said, saying once again this season, saying, where is everybody?
He's 13 seconds ahead of his teammate and pulling away. He's found a pace that we just didn't see through practice and qualifying. You can see some nasty discoloration on his rear tyres in particular, in the middle of the rear tyres. So even with that light blistering on the surface where the rubber gets localised heating and sort of erupts, gives you a handling problem. Seems less of a problem to the Bridgestone tyres than the Michelin's. It can give you structural problems, as I think that is Raikkonen in the background there, making a long way around the outside of turn 7. Here then, second place man Barrichello, and he's 7.4 ahead of third place man Jarno Trulli. Panis up to 4th, Sato now 5th. Montoya fed back in 6th place, comfortably actually ahead of the Heidfeld, Fisichella, Coulthard, Webber, Dice.
Yes, we haven't seen much of Olivier Panis this afternoon, celebrating his 150th Grand Prix start, a very long career, but he's going very nicely in 4th place, half a minute behind Michael Schumacher. Not being featured much by the TV cameras, but on target at the moment for Toyota's best result of the season. Let's get some news on Kimi Raikkonen from Ted Kravitz.
I'm afraid down here at the McLaren garage there is severe pessimism about Raikkonen's race. They have cleared a space in the garage for Raikkonen's car. I can tell you at that stop they also added some air to top up the engine pneumatic system. Of course, the valves don't have a camshaft per se, they're all driven by airlines and pneumatics, so they topped up the engine air, but they don't think he's going to make the end of the race, unfortunately.
Well, the computer's showing Raikkonen as having stopped out on the racetrack now, so that pessimism seems well placed there. We're down possibly then to 11 runners in this race so far. We've seen a JCB, sweepers, ambulance, Mercedes estate cars, just about anything you can imagine, and we're now down to a mere 11 Formula One cars, as we're still look barely around halfway.
It's certainly a day for keeping a cool head in the high temperatures of Indianapolis. Michael Schumacher on lap 39 then leading. Rubens Barrichello. Trulli is up into 3rd place, Martin, having started at the back of the grid. He's certainly kept a very cool head this afternoon. And what was I saying about Renault not being all that quick here, and a great day for BAR to get maximum points advantage over them? Well, what a reversal we're seeing on the racetrack. Panis then, you can see, one-handed around the corner for Takuma Sato, making some sort of adjustment to his car. There is Trulli, and another piece of bodywork flying. I don't know if that came off his car or he ran over it, but he's gone over the curb, you can see. I think he's knocked off part of his bodywork there. And we saw that earlier in the weekend. I was down at that corner actually, and his teammate Fernando Alonso did exactly the same thing. Knocked a piece of bodywork off the car going over the curb, possibly one of the turning vanes there flying off the car. Still in third place though, Trulli. Fourth is Panis. We're on board with Takuma Sato in fifth place. Teammate Jenson Button has retired from the Grand Prix. And there's Heidfeld pitting from what is now 10th place.
Well, the computer was telling fibs about Kimi Räikkönen. He is running again. He's in showing P11, doing reasonably quick 1 minute 12.5. So obviously it failed to pick him up out the back there somewhere. Showed him as retiring. We haven't seen him on screen, but Räikkönen is still in the race, and we do still have 12 runners.
There we go, with Sato just half a second behind the Toyota of Olivier Panis. Nothing much wrong with the horsepower of the Toyota engine. Sato making a few little adjustments on the steering wheel, just bracing himself for yet another battle in what has been a dogged afternoon already for Takuma Sato, having to overtake cars. And we're being told there's an incident involving car number 3 under investigation. That's Juan Montoya, who is currently running in 6th place. Well, he won't want to see that on the screens again. Remember last year, he investigated an incident involving him and Rubens Barrichello, and it cost him the World Championship. Now, we're just riding on board with Takuma Sato, and he's really lining up the Panis here.
Isn't he ever? And this is a grudge match. Whoa! Honda versus Toyota, and Honda pulls ahead at that one, and it looked like Panis was going to give him a little frightener to put him off the trail. Sato was having none of it. He's certainly driving with great maturity. Jeff Willis from the BAR team is down with Louise now.
He is indeed, Martin. In fact, Jeff has spent the last 5 minutes having a very close look at the telemetry on Sato's car. Is there some kind of problem? It doesn't appear from what's going on the track.
No, there's no problem with Takuma's car at all. We were just trying to understand if the problem with Jenson had any relevance to Takuma's, but everything looks okay at the moment.
We heard initial suspicions with gearbox with Jenson. Can you confirm that?
Yes, we looked like we had a problem immediately after the stop, so we just had to bring the car in rather than destroy it.
Talking of the stops, we were a bit puzzled as to why you didn't bring the cars in to refuel under the safety car.
We certainly didn't intend to take the first safety car. That was planned. In retrospect, maybe we should have taken the safety car with one car for the second safety car.
Thanks, Jeff.
Rather confirming, I think, what we were thinking up here, James, but...
I can say that again, 33 seconds it cost him.
Yeah, Michael Schumacher's lead now 15 seconds. Montoya's down in 6th place, 36 seconds off the lead, but he's under investigation by the stewards. Did he speed in the pit lane? Did he cross the white line on the pit exit? Has he frightened somebody off the road, which is a bit prone to doing from time to time? We'll have to wait and see. But Montoya then under investigation, and that normally means, doesn't it, well, they get a penalty of some sort, usually a drive-through.
Yeah, usually a drive-through penalty. Montoya currently then 36 seconds behind the race leader in 6th place at the moment, but a full 20 seconds ahead of Giancarlo Fisichella. So if he does get some sort of drive-through, he might be able to rejoin ahead of Fisichella. Wow, look at that.
That was the replay of the braking zone into turn 8, where Sato would not be. This presumably is another angle of it, and that was a touch naughty from Mr. Panis. We're going to see, I think, yet another. We're not sure whether there's a replay, just keeping us on our toes. Yeah, he wasn't going to have that, was he? And brave stuff there from Sato, and naughty stuff from Panis.
Ferrari ready in the pit lane for one of their 2 drivers. They pitted at the same time. Michael Schumacher comes in for his second stop of the afternoon. This is lap 42, and that means that Rubens Barrichello will momentarily assume the lead, but it's only a matter of time before Barrichello himself has to come in and make a stop. 15 seconds the margin that Schumacher had over Barrichello, so in other words, he was pulling away from him, even still at this point, going into the pit stop.
They could afford to stop for one of those big turkey legs they sell out the back of the grandstands here, couldn't they, at the moment? But a long way to go yet, long way to go, but Rubens needs to pick his pace over. He's not anywhere near Michael Schumacher.
Well, the fastest man on the racetrack at the moment is Takuma Sato. You're looking at him now. He's dipping into the 1 minute 10s here, 1 minute 10.7 his last lap. He's got Jarno Trulli in his sights. 7 seconds up the road he is. Jenson Button we saw making a retirement, a very costly one. Louise is with him.
Jenson, your first retirement of the season, very frustrating.
Yeah, it is, because the car is working really well here, but you know, it wasn't going right from the word go. You know, when Ralph had his accident, everybody else pitted and we stayed out thinking it would be okay, but the pace car was out for 11 laps or something, the safety car. So we lost a lot of time there, but the pace of the car when we got on new tyres was unbelievable. Traction-wise, we could overtake people out of corners, which is really unusual. So the car's very quick here, and I think it's the quickest car on the circuit. So it's a little bit disappointing, but there you go.
Somewhat frustrated, Jenson Button. Thanks very much.
Yeah, rather surprised. It looked like it was only ever going to be a long safety car, didn't it? In fact, I'd have been thrown a red, I think, at that point, with so much debris and Ralf Schumacher not moving too much inside the cockpit. So I'm surprised they read it that way. Sato confirming, though, what Jenson Button was saying about the speed of the car. He is mightily quick in 4th place at the moment. Schumacher slipped down to 3rd after that second pit stop. Barrichello leads then, yet to stop again from Jarno Trulli. We didn't see really in all the chaos of the Ralf Schumacher crash just how much fuel they put in the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello. He had to almost queue up at the gas station because of the circumstances of both Ferraris pitting at the same time. He's now beginning to lap quite quickly. Unfortunately, he fell so far behind Michael.
Well, we think, Mark Hughes, it helps us out up here in the commentary box, that Michael Schumacher might have enough fuel to get himself to the end of the Grand Prix. We reckon he put about 80 kilos of fuel in, and there's just 30 laps to go in this race. So that'll be very interesting if that's the case. Rubens Barrichello still has to make his stop, so does Jarno Trulli as well. Meanwhile, Takuma Sato is absolutely flying, trying to close down Jarno Trulli. And remember, Sato going for the podium here. It's astonishing to think that Trulli started from the very back of the grid, and he's got himself up to net 2nd place at the moment, but actually, when it all shakes out, he'll probably be 3rd. Look at Sato, though.
Sick Jordan just gone past. It's coming into your view now. No, it's not. They're going to follow Sato through the corner, but a very sick-sounding Jordan, I suspect, is about to put us down to 11 runners. Barrichello leads from Trulli. Michael Schumacher, who's made his 2nd stop. We think he can go all the way to the end from the information we've got. That's going to make his car feel a little bit heavy and going to do nothing for his blistering tyres either then. This is Jarno Trulli, currently 2nd place man, started on the back of the grid. There's been so much confusion and chaos, not difficult to pick your way through a few places.
Well, he's had a very careful outlap as Michael Schumacher from that pit stop, 1:12.4, as the Jordan of Heidfeld. Martin Brundle's antennae ears once again picking up a problem before it occurs. And it's the end of the day for the Jordan mechanics, end of a difficult 2-part North American leg. They got some points in Montreal, that really buoyed them up. Big party after that down at Jordan, but no party tonight. Both cars retiring from this Grand Prix. Pantano eliminated in the first corner of the race, and into the pits comes Sato from 4th place.
Again, surely that's a touch earlier than we probably anticipated Sato would come in. They've got to fuel him up for the remaining 28 laps of the Grand Prix. That's why it's taken a while. It's such a long pit straight here, and of course you're pitting at 100 kilometers per hour when on the track they're doing right alongside you over 300 kilometers per hour. So you lose proportionately more time than at some circuits.
Yeah, that fuel will comfortably get Sato to the end of the Grand Prix, so no more stops for him. 28 laps still to go here at Indianapolis. Well, a capacity crowd, not exactly, because this place holds 500,000, but certainly a better crowd than we've seen in the last few years. And they've been entertained royally here this afternoon. Lots of good racing, lots of good overtaking, a few incidents, plenty to talk about on the way home. We've got 11 cars still running. Last man on the track is Zolt Baumgartner as Trulli pits from 2nd place. This will promote Michael Schumacher back up into 2nd before Rubens Barrichello makes his stop. Barrichello lapping very quickly at the moment, so obviously trying to take advantage of the light car that he has under him. Slow away, no, good stop actually for Trulli.
I don't think he had it in 1st gear, did he? I think he gave it full bananas and didn't go anywhere there, but probably also waiting for the lollipop. They were still just finishing off the refueling, but Trulli then back out on track. He will not expect to see his mechanics again until the end of the Grand Prix. This must be for Panis as a matter long out of the race with gear selection problems.
Yep, Olivier Panis 3rd on the road at the moment then. The highest we've seen a Toyota this season. unlikely to finish there, but still a good chance today of a big points finish on his 150th Grand Prix start for Olivier Panis. This stop will drop him down to probably just behind Sato. It's going to be touch and go actually between him and Sato as a result of this pit stop. That'll be worth watching.
Right, well, I've got the answer of where Barrichello's pace went to a certain extent, because he's gone much further than Michael, hasn't he, on this stage of the Grand Prix. It costs you about 0.2 of a second per lap for every 10 kilograms of fuel that you carry, about 4 odd laps worth. And so Rubens with the heavier Ferrari just couldn't stay anywhere near Michael. Crucially, he's 20 seconds ahead of Michael. We think he's going to need about 28 to be ahead of him after the pit stop. So Michael will just be keeping a wary eye on that, but Rubens will have to really put some pace into it, and he is doing 1:10.5 last time around.
That was Sato, bottom right of your screen. He's gone through and passed comfortably the Toyota. You can see there, that's the Sabra Fisichella. He's going to be behind the Toyota. So Panis feeding back in 6th place as David Coulthard comes into the pits in the McLaren. He was 8th, but he's lost that place now to Mark Webber, with whom he has been battling all afternoon. They'll fuel this car through to the finish, I think.
They've got a lot of software on the pit wall, which they'll put in various permutations with safety cars and a different strategy. They use much less fuel under the safety car. That'll all get applied, and they can work it out then how much to preset for the fueling when he comes into the pit. That's why sometimes they get a bit of chaos if a car surprises them in the pit lane. They're not ready and they haven't primed the fuel ready to go in the car. Let's hear a bit from Ted.
Down at Williams with a Ralf Schumacher update. He's now been taken to the hospital in downtown Indianapolis for a CAT scan. That is precautionary. Of course, Ralf did have a concussion last year, and so 2 concussions, even in the space of a year, is quite risky. So he's gone for a CAT scan. But Mario Tyson, the BMW director, said that he went to see him, and Ralf asked Mario, what happened? I have no idea what happened. The suspicions at the moment are that it was either debris that cut the tyre or maybe a suspension failure. But I see we've got another tyre gone now.
We have indeed. Luckily for Fisichella, it's gone in a less crucial part of the racetrack than the main pit straight or the banked final turn. He's been trying too hard. You've got to hurry up and wait with that situation. No flailing carcass at the moment to damage the rear suspension and wing, but yet another puncture, and that unquestionably is because of all the shards of carbon fibre that have been quite liberally distributed around here this afternoon.
Well, the other tyres that we've seen going were Michelin tyres. This is a Bridgestone on the Sauber, so no connection. Obviously afterwards there'll be an examination of why all these tyres went. Certainly the debris on the track must be one of the suspected as being a major culprit. Into the pits then comes Giancarlo Fisichella. He was just in 7th place behind Olivier Panis, and this has dropped him right out of the picture.
And the reason why his front right wheel was flailing up in the air is because the cars are so stiff and there's such a tiny amount of suspension travel that lose the sidewall on the left rear and the right front will come skywards. The whole structure of the car is immensely stiff. Outstandingly stiff, I think, is the word of the weekend.
Certainly is. There's been a lot of outstanding incidents here today. Into the pits comes Rubens Barrichello on lap 50, just 24 to go then. He did put quite a bit more fuel into the car when they were queued up, the 2 Ferraris, under that safety car. It was absolutely the right call by Ross Brawn to bring them in. And this will drop Rubens Barrichello back behind Michael Schumacher. He was 22.6 seconds ahead of him, and you need more than that to make a stop and rejoin. Schumacher goes through across the start-finish line, overtakes his teammate then. Rubens Barrichello closer than he was, though. He has actually gained quite a lot by putting more fuel in the car in that pit stop under safety cars. And now we will see whether he can use the pace that he's had all weekend and the psychological advantage he had built up against his teammate. Now we'll see in the closing stages of this Grand Prix whether or not Rubens has got something in him to try and pass his team leader. Welcome back to Indianapolis, where Rubens Barrichello is having a real go at his team leader Michael Schumacher. They are nose to tail, just 0.3 of a second the gap between them at the beginning of the last lap. But as you saw for yourself, it's really hairy, scary stuff here. Martin, what do you reckon? What's going wrong with Schumacher?
Well, you remember I said at the pit stop that he's got to go a long way on heavy fuel. He'd already damaged his rear tyres. He's struggling now for traction and grip. Rubens had the advantage, so much advantage on fresh rubber. He stopped much later, as we saw, but he tried to seize that opportunity, make the most of fresh tyres. Michael just slammed across in front of him and has held him up a little bit. What they've got to watch out for, James, is Juan Pablo Montoya in third place, who's beginning to catch them, as Jarno Trulli's not that far behind either. So suddenly, if Michael wants to play all defensive with Rubens, who has suddenly now got his speed back, although still not quite in the zone to have another look at Michael, they've just got to watch out for Montoya and Trulli behind them. Sato too. They're all within 20 seconds. 20 laps to go.
Yeah, it's going to be a real grandstand finish here at Indianapolis. The Ferraris lapping in the low 1:12s, and the people chasing them down lapping in the 1:11s comfortably. Sato capable of mid to low 1:11s as the McLaren gets out of the way.
Coulthard get out of the way. Has got out of the way. He was being lapped. No more news on that investigation by the stewards, which was at 1300 hours here, so some 21 minutes ago. No sign of a penalty for Montoya at the moment, James. It's still up there on the computer, but Rubens then not close enough. Michael, we know, trimmed the wing out of his Ferrari for good straight line speed, but he's having to get defensive very early in the corners. Surely Rubens got enough pace and time to get on top of his team leader here.
Yeah, Montoya took another second out of them on that lap. He's now just 7.2 seconds behind Rubens Barrichello. He took a big chunk of time out of them, as he does on every single lap at the moment. So this Ferrari situation, definitely one to be monitored. Schumacher leading Barrichello by as much margin as you can see for yourselves. Montoya 7 seconds behind. Trulli is a further 7 behind Montoya, with Sato 3.8 and closing on Jarno Trulli. So two good battles in prospect on the racetrack. Schumacher and Barrichello at the front, and Trulli and Sato battle for fourth place. That's going to be joined very soon.
Montoya's only pitted once. Have a look and try and calculate. We think he can go to the end of the Grand Prix. We're absolutely sure Jarno Trulli can, and Takuma Sato in fifth. There's now 18 seconds between the lead Ferrari and fifth place man Sato. Michael then really beginning to struggle with traction. It's fine in these high-speed corners and down the long straights. You don't need the mechanical grip of the tyre. They get to the midfield section and he's really hurting. As soon as those blisters come, if they just get a little bit too deep, it's like running around on top of sort of sand or grain, if you like, James.
Absolutely. Well, the thing that Ferrari really didn't want today was high track temperatures. Coulthard's rather clumsy arrival into the pits then. Ted, what can you tell us?
Oh, James, I've been into Ferrari. I've seen what's problem. They say, no, there's no problem with Michael's car. Don't worry about that. Of course, Rubens has now lost the benefit of those new Bridgestones, but rather archly, the Ferrari representative said, we now have to conserve the cars to the end of the race. What do you make of that?
Well, what we make of that is they don't have a prayer of conserving the cars to the end of the race, because in the back of your picture is Juan Pablo Montoya in a much faster Williams. Not too far behind him, Jarno Trulli, probably just out of play, Trulli and Sato, if it be known. This is Coulthard making an unscheduled stop, back end locked up as he goes into the garage. Everybody slightly having to, do they get knocked or do they just step back? But Coulthard then was lapping very slowly, so we're assuming he's just gone in for a different set of tyres, I would imagine. And that then just proves us wrong. Montoya has got a pit again. So sadly, Montoya, with 17 laps to go, looks as if, there he is, he hasn't gone in the pit lane this time around, but seems like he has got to have some more fuel. So our info not quite right on that one.
Oh, what a shame, but he's certainly closing very quickly. That will probably explain why his pace was superior to the Ferraris. The two Ferraris lapping 1:12.3 at the moment. Fastest lap we've seen so far in the Grand Prix, in the high 1:09s, low 1:10s. So that gives you an idea of where the Ferraris are relative to the pace. Sato is 17 seconds behind the two Ferraris with just 17 laps to go. When Montoya pits, Sato will be promoted to 4th. Jarno Trulli is closing him down at the moment. Trulli will be promoted to 3rd. But can either of those two find the speed to get up to the Ferraris and maybe even try and attack them in the closing stages of this Grand Prix? You're looking at Montoya, expecting him to come into the pits. The Williams mechanics are down there. The tyres are out of the blankets. And expect to see Montoya diving to the right here. There he goes.
That's bad news for the Grand Prix. He certainly had the speed to have a look at the Ferraris, and this time around Michael Schumacher 2/10 faster, so the amazing pace Barrichello had on those fresh tyres has just ebbed away quickly. Ted.
Montoya's tyres were starting to go off anyway, so this is a relief just looking at them. They are quite badly worn. Of course, because he started in the T car, that car had to have a heavier fuel load than the one he originally went to the grid with. So I think that explains some of it, but that's unfortunate. Oh, what's this? A black flag?
Yeah, it's black flag for Montoya. I wonder if there's some technical issues with him using the spare car at the beginning of the race. Did he have two cars in play, effectively? He left one on the grid. I think you're allowed to do that. But Montoya didn't take the black flag because he happened to pit on that lap. He'll get it next time past. The team will know anyway. They'll be on the radio to him. I would imagine they'll use their 3 laps grace that they've got to go and understand why he's been black flagged, or maybe they'll just call him in. But that's Sam Michael then probably calling Juan Pablo Montoya into the pits. Is it another technical infringement for Williams just 7 days later?
7 days after the disqualification in Montreal. Both cars, Ralf Schumacher's 2nd place finishing Williams, Montoya's 4th place finishing car, both disqualified for brake duct infringements. Black flag means you've got to come into the pits because your race is over. We're not being given the reason up on the computer at the moment by the race stewards, but here comes Montoya. He's not wasting any time, and once again, Indianapolis not a happy hunting ground for Juan Montoya. Here last year, he arrived with a chance at the championship, and his championship hopes were finished off here when the stewards brought him in for a drive-through penalty, and now he's going to park a perfectly healthy car. Ted, what can you tell us?
Juan Montoya furiously retires. 2nd race in a row, Williams have a disqualification. It is because of the incident on the grid when the first car wouldn't start up and they had to use the T car. I believe it's because the T car had not been nominated and didn't receive a sticker from the FIA. A small administrative problem, but it is because he just jumped into that T car and went with it without going through the proper procedure.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's 26 minutes after it was first announced. I thought that had to be done within 20 minutes, James, that sort of thing. But that is a major technical infringement. But it's quite a complex procedure they have to go through to bring a spare car into play through a Grand Prix weekend. And early signs are they didn't follow that procedure.
Pretty extraordinary, though. It's an hour and a half since that car failed on the grid. It's taken an hour and a half to black flag Juan Montoya. Michael Schumacher serenely going about his way, or is he? Rubens Barrichello seems to have settled for 2nd place with Montoya out of the picture. He's not going to try and pass his team leader. He had a go, as he did a week ago in Montreal. It was a half-hearted attempt in Montreal. He really didn't see it through. And here today, coming out from his pit stop on fresh tyres when they were giving their best grip, he had a moment, just a moment, to try and do something, but it wasn't to be. And now Michael Schumacher is sitting in front of him, and one can only imagine that with Jarno Trulli 14 seconds behind in 3rd place, that Jean Todt, Ross Brawn and the rest of the Ferrari management will have said, hold station here. We do not want to take either of these two cars out. Look forward to the next Grand Prix, the French Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. Part of our Meet the Team series here on ITV. It is the Ferrari team. What a time to be going behind the scenes with Ferrari to look at the inner workings, how the dream team, as they're called, of Ross Brawn, Rory Byrne, Paolo Martinelli on the engine side, Jean Todt, Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello. What's the secret of Ferrari's success? Well, we'll be going deep behind the scenes, visiting Maranello, dealing with the team here at the racetrack as well. So look forward to that.
Sorry, James, I just see Trulli going very slowly. Sato was 2.2 behind him. They're fighting for the final podium slot. we did see Trulli, I think, just snatch a right front wheel as he went into the braking zone of 1 and out of our shot. But look at this, within 3 or 4 corners, Sato's taken all that advantage back. Jarno Trulli under pressure for 3rd place. You have to say it looks like Barrichello's now been told to hold station in 2nd.
Certainly does. This then the main interest of the battle, and there you can see Mark Webber struggling to control the Jaguar. That has blown at the same place that Ralf Schumacher had his incident. So Mark Webber able to bring it under control. He's going down the pit straight very, very slowly. And a scary moment for Mark Webber in the Jaguar. So both Jaguars retiring. And poor old Mark, he was in 6th place before that happened.
Don't really know why he didn't duck round the end of the pit lane and just get out of that. He's not doing anybody any favours there. He's gone to the relative safety of the turn 1 runoff area. And although we saw Alonso flying there on 3 wheels, the fire's going out, possibly some rear suspension problems as well. May have been created by the fire melting the suspension. And look, that is Jarno Trulli with some kind of drama then. Jarno Trulli off the road and struggling. Is that a low left tyre I saw there? Amazing, just going on everywhere. It's going to be anyone wins in a minute. Anyone scores some World Championship points this afternoon for the looks of it. At the moment, just 9 runners.
Well, they're giving away the points here this afternoon. The BAR team ready for Takuma Sato with 12 laps to go. We thought, we hoped certainly that he would have enough fuel to get to the finish. He is up into a podium position, but looks like he's going to have to make another visit, and it's going to be nip and tuck with Canis, who's in 5th place, 14 seconds behind him in the final runs of the finish. Whether or not Canis or Sato is going to get that final podium position.
Sato doesn't pit this time around, but they're really paying a heavy price for not pitting under those safety cars on there, especially if they let Canis up onto the podium. But, clearly didn't get as much fuel in these cars as we thought they were during those stops, and what's been a crazy race. Somebody's going to be busy catching up on all this at the end of the afternoon and trying to write up about exactly all the things that went on here. That is the Jaguar engine beginning to cry enough of Mark Webber. He went a long way. What is this all about then? This is about Sato passing Jarno Trulli for 3rd place. The McLaren of Raikkonen looked like it was trying to get out of the way. The pair of them across the grass. Sato pointing in the right direction on the grass. Jarno Trulli not. So when we saw him, he was just recovering. He's back relatively up to speed.
And the BAR pit crew that we saw coming out, that was not for a scheduled fuel stop, because they've gone back into the garage. It was just a precautionary, just in case Sato had some kind of problem technically. Once again, he takes his hand off the steering wheel on this high G corner. Very interesting stuff. Schumacher leading them by 1.9 from Barrichello. Sato is 3rd. Can he get his first Formula 1 podium? Maybe touching his lucky 4-leaf clover there at that corner, but certainly brave man to hold onto the wheel with only one hand at that point. Trulli 4th, Canis 5th, and Raikkonen 6th at the moment with just 10 to go. into the closing stages of what has been an extraordinary, and that is the word that you have to use, extraordinary American Grand Prix here at Indianapolis. James Allen and Martin Brundle with you. We had a crash at the start, and that really foreshadowed the afternoon for us. 4 cars eliminated in the first corner. That put a safety car out on track. At the restart, Michael Schumacher, who was second, who's been playing second fiddle to teammate Rubens Barrichello all weekend, well, he got the jump on him at the restart. They crossed the line 0.0 seconds apart, but critically, the computer saw that Rubens Barrichello was in front, and that meant that Michael Schumacher was a legitimate pass. He took the lead under us, and then, well, since then, he's looked serene.
Fisichella's got a problem out there, I think. I heard, again, something going not well down the pit straight here. So at the moment we have 9 runners. I'm trying to brush up on the regulations as we go on, just to fully understand that Williams situation. I think it's one of 2 things: either just the simple paperwork exercise of getting the car restickered as a spare car, bringing it into play, or maybe regulation number 85, where the driver has to be out of his original car and left the grid before the 15-second signal, which immediately precedes the start. And that would have been touch and go, James, wouldn't it? Because Montoya was sort of wandering around, slightly unsure what to do on the grid itself. So it remains to be seen which one of those 2 it is. But he could well have fallen foul of that regulation 85 as he got out of the car. The pack were just about to drive away, so he must have been in the 15-second zone.
Absolutely. It's been an eventful day, as I say. After that restart where Schumacher jumped Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher lost it in that corner there, turn 13, hit the wall backwards at 190 miles an hour as the Sauber struggles there of Fisichella. Looks like he might have some kind of problem. We're being told by the pit crew that it's a hydraulic problem for Fisichella. Either way, Ralf Schumacher's incident brought out a second safety car. There was an awful lot of debris at turns 1 and 13. Everybody, most of the teams brought their drivers in at that point for a pit stop under the safety car. BAR chose not to with Takuma Sato and Jenson Button. They've paid a heavy price for that here this afternoon. Sato at the moment circulating 20 seconds behind the race leader, but he was right with them before that second safety car period. So a very costly mistake for them. The 2 Ferraris had slightly different strategies at that point. Rubens Barrichello put more fuel in than Michael Schumacher, and although he paid a heavy price for it initially, it actually brought him out after his stop right behind his team leader. On fresh tyres, he had a go. Schumacher gave him a bit of a chop, and since then Barrichello decided discretion the better part of valour. So the day that should have started out with Rubens Barrichello heading for his first victory of 2004 looks set to finish with Michael Schumacher putting one over on him yet again, and he's just 6 laps away from his 8th Grand Prix victory of the season. We've lost Jenson Button. We believe it's either probably a gearbox problem, but certainly the team saw that there was going to be a problem and brought him in, and he parked the car. And as Martin was just saying a moment ago, we have lost also Juan Montoya. Just 9 runners at the moment. Fisichella in difficulties, and any more difficulties for anybody. There he is slowing, and that will mean that Baumgartner is going to get a point. Here he goes, past Fisichella. The young Hungarian driver could be on for Minardi's first points since Australia 2 years ago.
Yeah, and poetic justice. That would be nice actually to see. Let's hope he makes it through these final 5 laps. He's about to get lapped again. So I think I just saw Fisichella pulling out of the Grand Prix. We are down to 8 runners, and all 8 of them then will score World Championship points, providing they can be classified finishers. There's Baumgartner then, P8 now. Raikkonen and Coulthard are 6th and 7th. The Ferraris are now Linus Stirling. That chop that Michael put on Rubens was pretty pivotal, wasn't it? Slightly ruthless, but what would you expect? And he's defending the lead of a Grand Prix, but it was a pivotal moment. If Rubens had got through there, I think they were, after that incident, I'm sure they were both told to behave themselves and get the cars home.
Yeah, the turning point of the Grand Prix, undoubtedly, though, the restart after that initial safety car. Rubens Barrichello leading them round, but Michael Schumacher seemed to have a huge turn of speed that Rubens didn't. Coming out of turn 13 on the banking, he lined up his teammate and passed him into turn 1, and Rubens didn't know what had hit him. And since then, it's been Schumacher who's been dictating this race, not Rubens Barrichello. So he will have learned a lot, once again, about the steadiness of nerve, the racing intelligence, the racing brain, and the determination of Michael Schumacher. You don't win 6 world titles by being soft. Trulli what a remarkable day for him as well, coming through from the back of the field up to 4th place. Olivier Panis on his 150th Grand Prix, looking set to score points for 5th place. That will be Toyota's best result of the season so far. Kimi Räikkönen once again going to score some points. He's been in the pits 3 times this afternoon. He had a long stop while they put some oxygen, some air into the car, fiddled around with the electronics. He's lost a lot of time, but nevertheless bringing the car home ahead of teammate David Coulthard. 28 seconds ahead of Coulthard he is on the road. And if he can keep it all together, Zolf Baumgartner going to offer Minardi something to really smile about, with an 8th place finish for a single World Championship point, which is like winning a championship for the Minardi team. It's 41 Grand Prix since Minardi scored a World Championship point. Mark Webber, the Australian Grand Prix, if you remember, at the beginning of 2002.
Well, Trilly recovered from that grassy moment when Sato took him for 3rd place. He's now 12.6 seconds in a rear, with Panis now bearing down on him, roughly about half a second a lap. And I think Trilly's got the measure of him, unless he's got some specific problem. But Panis, very solid drive from him, very quiet. We haven't seen much of him, as you said earlier on in the programme, James. But Ted has some news on that Montoya disqualification.
Indeed, Martin, it does appear to be that he was not off the grid within 15 seconds. I understand from the team that he was told at 20 seconds that this is not going to happen, get out of the car and leg it, and we think he missed it by about 1.5 to 2 seconds. That is, that he was on the grid about 1.5 to 2 seconds past the 15. That is tough. The big question being asked at Williams, why did it take 57 laps to tell them?
Yeah, it's taken a long time. I thought there was a window once they've been told there's a problem, under which they've got to have a resolution to that. But so he's been out there risking his neck, and he will not be a happy chap. It takes a while to get out of the cars with seatbelts, radio, drink, and I'm just watching this one, and your hands device, a piece flying off the back of the BAR. We just seem to have seen carbon fibre flying everywhere today, but all the goodies that are attached to the drive, it does take a few seconds to get out of it. And Montoya then, that's the regulation 85 I told you about, not clear. You've got to have people out of the way within 15 seconds. You can't have cars beginning to pull away. We've had accidents in the distant past where mechanics have been run over because they bolt onto the track, or because they're still trying to fix their cars. And you've got to clear the grid. There has to be a defined moment where everybody's out of the way.
Ross Brawn climbing up onto the wall there, just having a look at something down the pit straight as the 2 cars go through. He's come away from his timing stand where he hasn't got a view of the pit straight. He wanted to see with his own eyes something with the 2 Ferraris that have just passed, so hopefully that's nothing. The Ferrari mechanics pouring out onto the apron now to salute home their man. I wonder whether the officials, perhaps, Martin, were delayed in looking at that Montoya situation by the accident of Ralf Schumacher. It was a very serious incident. There was an awful lot for them to focus on, and obviously concern themselves whether they should red flag the situation. I'm sure that will have added to the delay in judging the Montoya picture, but no doubt then here in Indianapolis who the winner of this Grand Prix is. Michael Schumacher going through turn 9 at the moment. 46 miles an hour, slowest corner on the racetrack, heading then for his 8th win out of 9 Grand Prix this season. Crucially for Ferrari, who like their history and like their celebrations, it's their 175th Formula One victory. But what it really is an illustration of just what a racing genius Michael Schumacher is, how he took the lead at the restart and how he's put one over his teammate Rubens Barrichello. Michael Schumacher wins the American Grand Prix. What a resounding victory for him, and it means a lot to him. Rubens Barrichello finishes in 2nd place, just a couple of seconds behind, with an awful lot to think about going away from here. And we're waiting for Sato to come through. Takuma Sato, there he is. He comes through to get his first ever Formula One pole position. He's ecstatic in the cockpit of his car. There he is, punching the air. A massive achievement for him. And who knows what will happen now in the remainder of this 2004 season, that he's got the confidence that comes with this podium.
Yes, the last, as you say, podium position there for Sato. The last Japanese driver on the podium was Aguri Suzuki back in 1990 at the Japanese Grand Prix, conveniently. And they're driving very well in La Rousse.
So it means an awful lot to Takuma Sato, as you can see, but it certainly mean an awful lot to Michael Schumacher. That was a hard race to win today. He was out-qualified by teammate Rubens Barrichello, but he kept his head. And really, they only came to close combat once. That was after Barrichello's second stop, when on fresh tyres he had a quicker car. There you can see Baumgartner in the background in the Minardi, just slipped out of frame there, but he did indeed finish in 8th place. And I bet he probably feels like he's won a World Championship here today. That's terrific. I believe he's the first Hungarian driver to score a World Championship point. And there you can see the final order. Great result for Olivier Panis as well. 5th place in the Toyota. That's their best result of the season. Trulli from the very back of the grid, making it in 4th place. And well, we'll have the podium presentation in just a moment.